I know you've seen them all over the internet. Sister locks, micro locks. What's the difference? What are the similarities? You might be wanting to get some locks but not sure which one to get. So I'm going to break it down and explain what the differences are, what the similarities are, why you should get one over the other, and which one will be best for your lifestyle. So keep watching. Hey y'all, this is Tasha from Tasha on Lock. I talk about all things sister locks, lifestyle, and home decor. And so today I'm going to be explaining and breaking down the differences between sister locks and micro locks. I get this question asked all the time on Instagram. People are very interested in getting locks, but they're never sure about which one to get. And so they're often confused about what the differences and the similarities are. And so I am going to help you out today and explain the differences and the similarities, and also break down what the benefits are of getting each one based on the way that your lifestyle is set up. Because at the end of the day, this is a lifestyle change, and we want to make sure that whichever route you pick is in alignment with your lifestyle. So we're going to talk about the factors and the benefits and the reasons why you would pick sister locks and the reasons why you would pick micro locks, because at the end of the day, they're both beautiful choices. One is not better than the other. They're both beautiful options as far as tiny locks. I'm glad that we even have options to pick from. And so yeah, I just wanted to kind of break it down and help those people out who are still just a little bit confused about which route to go. So let's get into it. And by the way, I'm gonna be doing my hair while I'm talking to you because I got a photo shoot tomorrow and I need to put pipe cleaners in my hair. So I'm going to be installing my pipe cleaner curls while I'm breaking it down for you. So don't even mind me, girl. We're trying to get these curls together. So let's first talk about sister locks, and then we'll talk about micro locks, because I really want you to understand what they are in itself before we start comparing the two. And so sister locks is what I have. I've had my sister locks for the past 5 years, and for me, it fit my lifestyle. I honestly didn't even know about micro locks, didn't even know they existed. So I just went straight for sister locks. And so sister locks is a trademarked uniform lock method that utilizes a specialized tool. And it was developed by Dr. Joanne Cromwell back in 1993, back when I was born. And so basically she just wanted to create this process that involves creating a what we call the grid, which is very small sections on the scalps, that they basically make all these different parts on the scalp, and it's very uniform. And this is very specific to sister locks and the sister locks brand. Also the tool is very specific to the sister locks brand as well. And so the locks are extremely tiny, probably about the width of a pencil, at the tip of a pencil. And there's also about 4 different patterns for sister locks that the certified sister locticians can use to when they are installing the lock. And in order for somebody to create or install sister locks, they must go through the specialized sister locks training in order for them to properly learn and be educated on how to install them and how to maintain them. And so then once you take the class, you become a trainee or a certified sister lock consultant or sister loctician. So with sister locks, as you can see, there's a lot of them. There's a lot. And usually they're can be about 400 to sometimes 1,000 locks that are created on one person's head. It really depends on a lot of different things. It depends on how much hair the person has. It depends on the size of the person's head. It depends on the density of their hair. Like it depends on a lot of different things. And these certified Sisterlock consultants, they're trained properly to know like how many that a person would need for their install. So usually the install can take like 2 days or more. My install took 2 days. And then once you get the install, you basically go back to the Sisterloctician and you get a retightening so that they can, once your hair grows out from the root, you will get a retightening, which is kind of like equivalent to a relaxer touch-up or just a lock retwist if you have like traditional locks. And so so because the locks are so tiny and they can be fragile if you go too long without getting a retightening done. And so it's recommended to get a retightening about every 4 to 6 weeks. So I've been locked for 5 years, so I'm at that point where I can go like every 6 weeks. And it's changed throughout the years for me, but yeah, I go like every 6 weeks to my Sisterloctician and get a retightening, and that just works for me. And so yeah, that is basically what Sisterlocks is. Microlocks is tiny locks that has some type of parting system, and the locks can be from the width of a pencil tip to the width of a marker. So with microlocks, they can be a little bit bigger. They can be, maybe up to like double the size of Sisterlocks. And also with microlocks, anybody can install them. There's no requirement to have a certified like loctician to install them. Anybody can do them. And another thing about microlocks is that they do require for you to have retightenings as well, but because they can sometimes be bigger and there's not like a lot of rules or anything about microlocks, some people try to get away with like going a little bit longer in between their retightenings, and that's fine and everything, but you just have to be very careful with just making sure that you don't go too long, which can put your locks at risk of breaking off. And also with microlocks, you can have a less amount of locks because if they're bigger, then you don't need to have as many. So some people kind of have like around 300 locks, or maybe even less than that. I've seen some people, and so a lot of people like microlocks because there's not a lot of rules about it, and there's a little bit more freedom, and you can also go a little bit bigger on the sizing, and you also don't need to have to find a specific Sisterloctician or a loctician to do your hair. So a lot of people kind of go for microlocks because of that reason. But anyways, microlocks, Sisterlocks, we just talked about. So I'm going to talk about some of the differences between Sisterlocks and microlocks. And so one of the big ones is that Sisterlocks cannot be started without the Sisterlocks trademarked method. And so everything that is part of what makes Sisterlocks is included in the installation of Sisterlocks. So if you are not getting the Sisterlocks method, then you do not have Sisterlocks. So that is very important to know. The difference is that is like one of the biggest differences. And so another difference between Sisterlocks and Microlocks is that Sisterlocks, as part of that trademark method, Sisterlocks requires the Sisterlocks grid, and Microlocks does not require it. And so if you do not have the Sisterlocks grid, then technically you do not have Sisterlocks. Another difference between Sisterlocks and Microlocks is that Sisterlocks has 4 different patterns and Microlocks has 2 patterns. So that is a big difference. Another difference is that a lot of people think that Microlocks is a little bit more cheaper than Sisterlocks, or the Sisterlocks can be more expensive than Microlocks. And that's true in some cases, but lately Microlocks prices have been kind of rising. They've been on the rise because it's becoming more popular now. So you might even find like Microlocks being around the same price of Sisterlocks. I'm actually going to talk about that later too, like what goes into the cost of Sisterlocks. Another big difference is Microlocks does not require somebody to like take a class or anything. Anybody can do Microlocks. If you are wanting to get Sisterlocks installed, you have to go to a Sisterlock consultant or a Sisterlock training. Another difference is that you cannot get extensions on Sisterlocks. If you want extensions, then you wouldn't be getting Sisterlocks. You would have Microlocks or a different type of locks, but you can't get extensions with Sisterlocks. As part of the Sisterlocks method, in terms of like post installation, in that first year of having Sisterlocks, you're supposed to braid and band, which is part of the process to help prevent slippage during the locking process. And you're also supposed to use Sisterlock products, so like a Sisterlock shampoo, because that shampoo is specifically made to help with the locking process of Sisterlocks also. Versus Microlocks, you do not have to use specific Sisterlock products or Sisterlock shampoos. You can use whatever products you want to use. And so yeah, those are a lot of the differences with Sisterlocks. And some of the differences for Microlocks, again, just like the pricing, the way that Microlocks can be started is different than Sisterlocks. I haven't talked about that yet. So basically, like with Sisterlocks is like it can only be performed through interlocking. It's the interlocking method. With Microlocks can be started through interlocking, or it can be started through braids, like tiny braids. It can also be started with twists, like mini twists. So there's like multiple different ways that Microlocks can be started. And so that's a big difference too. Microlocks can sometimes take longer to lock and for the pattern to disappear compared to Sisterlocks. So some of the similarities between Sisterlocks and Microlocks are obviously the way that they look. They both require maintenance. So in between the times that your hair is like growing, you have to go get it re-tightened. Another similarity is that both Microlocks and Sisterlocks are created with some type of parting system. Another similarity that they both offer, which is my favorite reason why they're both have great similarities, is that you get hair freedom with both Sisterlocks and Microlocks, and you get a low maintenance hairstyle with Sisterlocks and Microlocks, and you get your time back. You get to have versatility with different hairstyles. They're both really, really great options. And so yeah, those are the similarities. So now let's talk about some of the factors to consider when you are making that decision on whether or not to get Sisterlocks or Microlocks. So one of the factors is size. So you want to kind of know like how big you want your locks to be. Now, there's some people that really do fall in love with the super tiny lock and the way that it is. And one of the reasons people like the super tiny look is because you can do more styles with it. The smaller it is, the more it looks like loose natural hair, the more versatility you have compared to like a more larger type of lock. So some people really like that, and if that's you, then get sister locks. Other people are like, those locks are just way too tiny, and they could just, they might be worried that they might snap off, or maybe they just don't want to have a super long retightening time, because the size of your lock depends on how long your retightening time is. If you have 1,000 locks, then you're gonna be sitting in that chair for quite a while. But if you have 300 locks, 200 locks, then you might be in and out in an hour. So the size can depend on the retightening time too. Another factor is the grid. So with the grid, really it depends on, do you care about the grid or not? Because if you do, if you must have that grid, then girl, get sister locks. Like if you want all those parts and you want all the perfectness and the uniformity and the specialization of these sister locks grid, then get sister locks. But if you're somebody that's like, I don't really care about the grid, I don't need to have the specific grid, like you can put whatever grid you want in my scalp, you don't really care about that, you more so care about like the health of your hair, the beauty of your hair, or just having hair freedom more so than the particular details of the grid, then get microlocks. Another factor is maintenance. So we kind of talked about like the retightening time and stuff, but also like again with sister locks, like you definitely want to stay within that time frame of 4 to 6 weeks. And so with that being the time frame, you have to go get your retightenings, that often, which means that you have to set aside that budget for you to be able to go get your locks maintained. Compared to if you have micro locks, if you have a little bit of a larger type of lock, you don't have to go get your retightenings as often, then you don't have to spend as much money as often as you would with sister locks. So that's that. And then another thing to consider with maintenance is the availability of the loctician. So if you are living in a rural area that, your neighbor is like 20 minutes away and you're so far away from everything, then it might be kind of hard for you to locate a sister loctician, a certified sister loctician in your area. And if that's the case, then you might want to consider microlocks if you can, if that means that you will be able to have more options of who can service your hair. So if you live in like Atlanta, or like you live in an area was heavily populated, has tons of stylists, then consider sister locks. But if you don't live in like a high traffic, high populated area, then I would not suggest sister locks. I would suggest micro locks. I get a lot of people that are literally struggling with trying to find a sister loctician in their area. And you can look on the Sister Locks website and it will show you the who all is considered a certified consultant or certified trainee in the different areas. But unfortunately, if you can't find one there, then it might just be kind of tough. So if that's you, then maybe consider microlocks. Another factor to consider is products. So I know that some people are totally fine with, using sister locks products only, at least in the first and the second year of having locks. That's fine with them. Their scalps are fine. And if that's you, and you're okay with not using anything else but Sisterlock's products, like no oils, no conditioners, stuff like that, and your scalp is fine, girl, get you some Sisterlocks. But if you are like many other people who have a very like sensitive scalp, or like you need a specific product, like you need to use specific products that are not Sisterlock products, then you might want to consider Microlox, because it can be a little bit hard to find products for people who have sensitive scalps, or like maybe dermatitis or eczema or something like that on their scalp. And then with Sisterlocks, like, I mean, it can just be like a little bit more challenging, because you're supposed to use the Sisterlocks products, and if you having all those like scalp issues and stuff, and then if the Sisterlock products kind of irritate your scalp, then it will be you'll have to like find an alternative that's like Sisterlock friendly. You have to like work with your Sisterloctician to help you find something to have like relief with your scalp. But if you're like, I don't even want to have to deal with none of that, then get Microlox. But if your scalp is like, you don't really have those types of issues, you don't really have like a sensitive scalp, and your hair is okay with like trying the Sisterlocks products for the first and second year, then go for Sisterlocks. Another factor, and this is the last factor, is cost. There's like different factors that go into cost. So the pricing for Sisterlocks can vary based on a few different things. One is the number of hours it takes to do the installation and the retightening. So some locticians have like a set price for a set amount of hours, and then if you go longer, or so if it takes longer, they might like charge a little bit more. Another factor is the amount of time that you have gone in between your retightenings. So, you know, some people will try to go a little bit longer. You know, maybe they haven't had a retightening in like, I don't know, 8 weeks, 10 weeks or something. That means that you have more new growth, and that means that the Sisterloctician has to do more iterations, which can take more time. So they can charge you extra for that. Another factor is the location. Certain Sisterlocticians charge different prices based on location. Another factor for price is the hair length. So some people have really long hair when they come in to get a Sisterlock installation, and so different Sisterlocticians charge different rates for different hair lengths. They might have like a set rate for like X amount of inches, maybe like 4 inches, and then they'll do like, okay, anything after the 4 inches is an extra this amount, like an extra, I don't know, I'm just making this up, extra $25. So some people end up cutting their hair so that they can kind of reduce the price of the installation. So yeah, hair length can definitely play a factor in the cost. Also experience. So if you have a Sisterloctician who is like, has all the certifications and stuff, or if they had been doing hair for a certain amount of years or something, then they can also charge a little bit more than the like the standard price. And then also some of them can charge different rates based on their status. So if they are a Sisterlock trainee, they might have like a standard rate of, let's just say, $400. But if you're a certified Sisterlock consultant, then they might charge maybe double, or they just might charge more than what a trainee would charge. So you might get a cheaper rate if you go to a trainee. And the last thing is the amount of hair. So if you have a lot of hair, then sometimes they will charge you extra for that, because if you have more hair, you have more locks, that means your retightening time is more is longer, which takes more time. So sometimes they will charge you extra for that. So those are the factors that kind of play a role in the differences of the pricing that you'll typically see with Sisterlocks. Okay, so now we've talked about what Sisterlocks are, what Microlocks are, the differences between Sisterlocks and Microlocks, and then also the similarities and some of the factors that kind of go in to your decision on whether or not to get Sisterlocks or Microlocks. So now I want to also just like share some advice, just kind of like a quick recap of like who Sisterlocks is for, who Microlocks is for, to kind of just help you with your decision making on whether or not to get Sisterlocks or Microlocks. So starting off with Sisterlocks. Sisterlocks, if you fit into any of this criteria that I'm about to tell you, then Sisterlocks is for you. Okay, so for Sisterlocks, Sisterlocks is great for somebody who really takes pride in the whole Sisterlocks brand. They really like they're excited about being part of the Sisterlocks community. They're just excited to have Sisterlocks and for people to recognize their locks as Sisterlocks. Those are people that would do really well with Sisterlocks. And Sisterlocks is also really great for somebody who wants to have a certified Sisterloctician doing their hair, or a training Sisterlock consultant or a training doing their hair. Like they don't mind scoping out those specific people each time that they need to get their hair installed or retightened or what have you. But they really want to have a certified Sisterlock consultant or trainer. Sisterlocks are great for people who really want to have the uniformity of the specific Sisterlock grid. They also really want to have the smaller sizing of the locks. So they want that pencil tip width of the locks. Also, they have the budget to invest in their hair for the installation of Sisterlocks and also the maintenance of the retightens that happen about every 4 to 6 weeks. So they have the budget and they don't mind spending the money for that. So if that sounds like you, then go ahead and get Sisterlocks. If you're like, no, like, no, none of that sounds like me, then listen up, because you might be better off with Microlocks. And here's why. Here's the reasons why you should get Microlocks. So if you are somebody that wants the ease of finding a loctician in general, where it's not, you don't have to like search high to find a certified loctician. This could be anybody. If that's what you would like, then consider Microlocks. If you are also not really into the whole grid, like you don't really care about having that specific Sisterlocks grid, if you just more so care about having beautiful locks and hair freedom and just, you know, if that's more your thing, you don't really care about being a part of the Sisterlock community, you don't really care about being part or representing the Sisterlock brand, if that's not your cup of tea, then Microlocks is definitely for you. If you also need to have more affordable pricing, Microlocks is definitely a great option. So basically, I just wanted to give you all that rundown on the differences of Microlocks and Sisterlocks and the similarities. Ultimately, this is a lifestyle decision, so you really do have to reflect on your personal lifestyle to really help you make that decision. If you've been watching me put these pipe cleaners in and you've been wanting to know the full tutorial, I do have a step-by-step tutorial on how to install Sisterlock pipe cleaners. It's on my YouTube channel, and I also have it on a blog post as well. So check it out if you have not tried Sisterlock pipe cleaners or pipe cleaners on Microlock. Definitely give it a try. You'll get the most prettiest, bounciest curls ever. So yeah, I'd love to hear y'all's feedback, your thoughts, what you're thinking of so far, like what you're more so leaning towards. Like, put it in the comments so I can see. And if you have any questions about anything that I said, or just any general questions, put those in the comments too. And if you were not already subscribed, go ahead and tap the subscribe button, tap the like button, hit me up on Instagram because that's where I mostly am. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.